Welcome to our program. This is a program about 2020, looking ahead. What prompted me to put this together was the fact that most of us will make New Year's resolutions every year. December, January, we put the list together, and then some of them come to pass and a number of them don't come to pass. And it's been my experience that if you put together a plan, that can help make you more successful in your endeavors. So, why bother? You could work on your problems and questions and improvements on technology on piecemeal basis as they come up, as you think of them, and so forth, so on. But if you put together a plan, chances are you'll get better results, you will get results, and you can focus on your most important problems and projects. It's awfully easy to get distracted. You try and do something with technology, something pops up on your screen, whatever, you decide to pursue that. A plan can help you stay on course and actually accomplish what you need to accomplish. We've got 3 months left in the year to put together a plan for 2020, so we're ready to start out the year with a bang. Okay. What are some of the things you could put in a technology plan and why you might want to put them in a technology plan? We all have frustrations with our technology. From time to time, things don't work the way they do. We don't understand what's going on. We are victimized by scams and malware, et cetera, et cetera. Let's identify what those are, jot them down, and figure out ways to prevent them or minimize them in 2020. Same thing on identity theft and scams. Certainly, they're in the news all the time. People are coming up with new ways to take advantage of you. What can we learn from our experiences, from other people's experiences, steps we can take to help us prevent those or minimize them in the future? Technology to improve our lives. Our current technologies are doing everything for us we want it to do. Are there things that we could change or add to our technology efforts now? What about the new stuff coming down the pipe? Are there things that we should pay attention to, consider investing in, and so on? Technology can be expensive. You want to get the best bang you can for the buck. What are some ways to do that? And we talked about this a few years ago. We're all, unfortunately, going to die. And we may have some incapacitation before we do. Like all our other personal affairs, our business affairs, our property, it's better to plan ahead and get in front of that so your survivors are not left trying to clean up a mess. We did a presentation a couple years back on digital afterlife. This is the same idea. As long as you put together a plan, might as well consider that as well. Any other possible benefits of putting together a technology plan? Have it covered? Okay. Let's start out then. Minimize technology frustrations. What problems and frustrations do we have? Have we heard about from other club members? Have we heard about from family or friends? Things that we want to have to deal with, or we have to deal with, or may want to address as we go down the road. Do other people look for us for help? Friends, family members who may have frustrations of their own. Do they turn to you for help? Do they ask questions? What can you do to better prepare to help them? What's causing them? What do you have to do to make them go away or prevent them in the future? Here's some possible considerations while you're looking at that and saying, well, okay, fine, how do I do that? It's all very well to say I want a plan, but what do I do? One of the things you can do is come to understand that you communicate with technology on its terms, not on yours. If you're having a conversation with somebody, you have facial expressions, that they can see your mood, they can interpret what you're saying by seeing you because they know you and so forth. Your technology does not do that. It is very rigid about the way it talks to people, and they expect people to talk to it. So you have to learn the language, you have to learn to how to input data, how to start it, stop it, give it commands, and no need getting frustrated with it. Remember the old jokes about hit any key to continue. They had the duck with a mallet and he's smashing his keyboard. Or you'd see pictures years ago of people throwing computers out the window. They were so frustrated because they couldn't get it to understand what it was. It was like yelling at a puppy. The puppy's wondering, what's he talking about? They've gotten better, but they're still not great. So don't let yourself get frustrated. Just say, I need to talk to this computer or this tablet or a phone or whatever on its terms. Keep your hardware, software up to date. We've been beating that to death, but there are settings you can put on your computer, on your software, on your technology products. This also includes firmware. Products have firmware that needs to be updated too. With a program and a schedule that ensures that your technology is kept up to date, you minimize frustrations, you minimize problems, and as we talk about later, you minimize malware and people trying to take advantage of you. Years ago with computers, when they first came out, they used to put out a list of things you should do to keep your computer running well. You should clean out cookies, you should clean out data that was cached. You need to defragment your hard drive, etc. And it was up to you to go through this list of things. Computers have gotten better about that. They've built a lot of that housekeeping into place. New solid state drives that are replacing hard drives don't need to be defragmented. There are things that it's better than it was. But some people use software to do this, CC Cleaner, Systems Mechanic, Wise Cleaner. There's a number of pieces of software you put on your computer that will do all this behind-the-scenes housekeeping for you and keep your computer running faster. So look into that unless you want to do it on your own, but otherwise you're likely to find your computer slowing down. You may not find it responding as well as you would like. So learn how to do that or get some software to help. You can, as always, look for internet search, go to trusted websites, manufacturers' websites, Microsoft, HP, Apple, on and on and on. They have tutorials, they have information, they have on-site community forums you can post questions to. It's there for the asking. Just go on the internet and check it out. And of course, you can come to LCAC and talk to Linda and Lester before our meetings every month, and they'll be happy to help you. But post questions to our group email. Google Groups email, you get Google Group, hopefully you're getting Google Groups emails from me from time to time with technology stuff I think of interest. You're perfectly free to post questions to the group. Some years ago, Robin was asking me about a particular question she had with a piece of technology, and I didn't know the answer, but I said, why don't you just post the question to the group? And she did, and Mike Andrews responded to her, and they got together and worked out the problem. So help is out there. Just post a question, and somebody is likely to give you a jingle and say, yeah, why don't you try this? Okay. Any other suggestions along the lines of dealing with your current technology?
Actually, there are many groups on Facebook that you want to know how to do something, how to use any particular program you want to use, anything, or I just had a new Instant Pot, how recipes for it. I mean, when we came out with a list like this of different groups to help with any of your computer things, any of your technology. I was having trouble with Fire Stick, so I joined two groups on that because if I read everybody's thing and read them, I find out, oh, I could have done that.
Yeah.
This isn't working, or if this is on my screen, you'll get an answer. So there's groups out there on Facebook.
So
I know a lot of people don't want to use that.
So if you're on Facebook, just search for.
You just put it in.
Okay.
Whether it's a Sheep group, an HP group, a Dell group, your software, whatever.
user reviews
Right,
before I update software.
yeah,
I want to know
yeah.
the good and the bad and the
Okay.
ugly before I do it.
There's two good,
Bad, that is a good point.
two good suggestions. Search on Facebook, search, just a general search, internet search online, looking for whatever topic or issue you're interested in. Cynthia?
Are you going to, is there any way to get copies of your slides later?
Yes, what I will do is, yeah, please, you don't have to copy all this down. I will send this presentation to JJ. He'll put it up on our website. You can go to www.lcac.org. As a matter of fact, I can just send it out as an attachment. I don't know, the attachments work on their Google Groups email. Yeah, I'll send it to JJ, you put it up on the website, you can download it from the website. Right?
Also, there are classes out there that you can use, and your library may all, no matter what your library is, free access to Linda or to,
Yep.
and so you can learn more about existing things you're using or other applications, or maybe even things like your genealogy.
Yep. Okay.
Also through technology,
Years ago, I had a system mechanic, and it was working okay, but then I went to the other filters, he said, get rid of that. Well, I didn't listen to him. I don't know what it did, but it triple, duplicate, quadrupled my programs, or all my files. So I had to take it to him and have it fixed. I don't know why it didn't work for me, so you gotta be careful with some of the software too. I mean, I paid for it and like,
Good point.
yeah.
Comment regarding lynda.com. For several years, I paid a monthly subscription, and the Grace Lake Library cardholders can access it for free. But it was purchased by LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and one of the things that LinkedIn was saying was, well, if you get a premium membership, you get the free LinkedIn lessons. And that's what lynda.com became. And now, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if anybody will have that by the next meeting, but I tried to log in a couple of days ago, and I had a little trouble. It could have been because of my library funds, but it says in 16 days, lynda.com will be on LinkedIn lessons. And I called the reference desk, and they said yesterday that it should be free. But I keep my eyes open on that one because,
Well, good point. Bryce's point was your library may offer several of these online learning courses with free access that you otherwise would have to pay for. So stop by your library, just go online, look at what your library offers, and based on Cynthia's experience, it would probably be wise to stop in and talk to a reference librarian and just say, let me understand how this works and what the deal is and so forth.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a transition, I think.
I wanted to put this on here because when I was talking about keeping your software updated and your hardware updated, this is an email that I just received yesterday from Netgear because I have a Netgear router. And if you can't read it, what it says is, we've enhanced your product's security. Please update to the latest firmware on your router. And then it's in a small print down here. It says, click here for a how-to tutorial to do that. If you registered your router with the manufacturer when you bought it, chances are they will send you this kind of an email. If you haven't seen one in a while and you're wondering, look up instructions for your router on a periodic basis, maybe once every 6 months or something like that, just to check with the manufacturer to see if they have a more recent firmware update for your router. And if so, install it on your router to keep it protected. Same thing on your computer. I have HP computers. There's HP Assistant software that they make available to you. If you don't have it on yours, and then you should probably download it from HP. If you have something other than HP, you should look for their software that they offer that allows you to do checks on your computer. They will push notifications to you, like we have a firmware update for your computer. Go ahead and follow their instructions and update that as well. So it's not just your software, but the firmware that drives your hardware needs to be kept current.
You have to be careful with firmware. I think if there's an interruption, or you accidentally cut it off, I don't know, will your stuff turn to a brick? I don't know.
But you don't want to find out. So,
I know, I've heard that, so I've always told them the power doesn't go off.
Yeah.
Well, I have a battery backup, I need to install a darn thing, but I'm always like, on my printer, I have firmware updates, updates to your hardware, and like it says, don't turn it off.
Yes, make
Don't mess
sure,
it up.
if it's a laptop, make sure it's plugged in, or if it's something else that requires power, make sure it's plugged in and so on. Okay, moving along, some other things to consider in our plan are identity thefts and/or scams. Don't need to beat that one to death, but you've got really a couple of different issues here. One is hardware attacks, software attacks, trying to get into your computer system and get information from you or push bogus warnings or other information to you. Then there's scams. Scams can be done through your computer. Scams can be done over the telephone. Scams can be done by people knocking on your door saying, I'm here to replace this hole in your roof. But certainly this is something to be aware of. And extortion. And let's break that down. Hardware and software attached to your computers, tablets, and smartphones. Let me start off with computers. You say, well, hardware attacks, what's a hardware attack? Well, this is partly why we're talking about firmware. Because if the bad guys can get into your computer through your network or whatever network you're on, if there's some problems with your firmware, they may be able to insert malware on your computer without you even being aware of it. There's also sometimes hardware issues. And let me take you back to those wonderful years of last year, okay? Remember this? Meltdown and Spectre. This was actually a flaw in Intel processor chips and actually AMD processor chips. So this wasn't even firmware. This was the processor chip in your computer had a vulnerability in it that people could exploit. And as a result, the manufacturers of the computers were coming up with software fixes for that. So that's one kind, that's nothing much you and I can do about that with our computer, other than when we're notified and they give us some fixes to fix, we can put them in place. But let me go back one. Oh. Okay. No. What did I do?
Let's go back one.
Okay. Let me try this one more time. No signal. All right. Let me try this one more time. All right, okay. All right, we're gonna move merrily onward here. Okay, past that. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. That would be hardware attacks. Software attacks are people trying to get in programs on your computers that have not been patched. So if you haven't patched your operating system, if you have other software that hasn't been patched, there's potentials that they can get into that and through that get into your computer. Now, the companies that sell computers and the people who provide operating systems are getting better about this, so they're pushing updates out to you. Apple updates your operating system on Apple. Microsoft is doing that now with Windows 10. they're installing their updates automatically. But for your other programs, you will get notifications sometime. You're using Microsoft Office, you're using other specialized software. Whatever process they use for updating, understand that process. And if you're not getting push notifications, make sure you touch base with them and follow up. I mentioned routers before. Key part of your home network. Firmware can be an issue. When people buy routers, they come with a pre-installed admin password, logon information. The username is admin, the password is password. They do that for everybody with the expectation that when you get it, you will take time to get into your router and change that logon information so that bad guys can't enter your thing and get your router, your network password and get into your network. So be sure in all of your hardware, software, and so forth, you're looking at those things. IoT devices, another vulnerability. This has been a big issue. A lot of manufacturers who make all these smart home devices and Internet of Thing devices, Ring doorbells, security cameras, light controls, you name it, are not security conscious. Many of them are not even password protected. They become part of your network. They represent a vulnerability. Someone can get into that. They've created botnets by taking over these devices and using to send bogus emails out. Once again, something to learn about. Safeguard, make sure your network's safeguarded. Internet versus Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. There's various ways we connect. Bluetooth is pretty short. It's between you and 30 feet or whatever, but your Wi-Fi network spreads further. Internet obviously is another way. So look at all the ways in which you are exposed to the world. If you just had a computer, like we used to back in the day, a computer and a printer, you were in business. All you had to do was lock your door at night and you were perfectly secure because nobody could get to you. Well, guess what? Now we've got all this ability to reach the world, and that gives the world an opportunity to reach us. So close your electronic door like you close your house door. Yes, ma'am.
What about boosters for the routers?
What about it?
Okay.
Your router
As
creates...
long as the router is secure, then the booster should be secure.
Well, your no. The router creates a Wi-Fi network.
Right.
Different technology from Bluetooth.
No, I'm not talking about Bluetooth. There's something, okay.
Expanders, range
The
extender.
range extender, yes. I have parts of my house where the signal goes in and out.
Yes.
Okay, and I was looking online and they said, well, you need maybe a booster in certain
Yes.
places to get it from one point to the other.
Okay.
A booster, as I understand it, is simply like another router. But you've located it in physical space where you need to get some more support. Is that
Yeah.
your situation?
Yes.
So that do you have to program?
You
No.
may have to, it
And
should
it
have,
depends on
it should have a
On which one?
password.
which one, where you get it from.
Okay,
It should have a password just like your router.
okay.
And that's one of the benefits of the so-called mesh networks, where you would get multiple devices in a set, like Linda put in, and they link to each other, but it's all one network, and you don't lose some of the bandwidth because you're going through extenders and so on.
How old is your router? Do you know? Because I've heard that every 4 or 5 years. it was
I
updated.
rented from Comcast.
Oh, you're renting one?
I'm renting one.
Oh.
I
well,
didn't
okay.
put in a different one. I had an Apple one first.
Yeah.
And it interfered with the Comcast one, so I took that one out and
I don't know how much money you want to spend, but like I say, I have a mesh, there's all the updates. But what did it cost you, Bob?
A little over 300.
It's very expensive.
What's the-
But this, I've heard that it lasts like 7 years, but then there's this 5G coming up, so who knows?
As Linda was saying, how old is your router?
Yeah, you better.
Okay, well,
It's at least 5 years.
Oh.
you're Comcast, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I just expanded several months ago, less than that, to the new X5 Wi-Fi, and I have the pods that you can get from them throughout my house. It expands my Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
And when I went there, one of the things they did is they decreased my the amount I'm paying for my Comcast. You know, he went through all the channels that I'm receiving. I said, I don't watch half this stuff, so I ended up getting the new system, the pods, and saved $60. So,
Okay.
a month, yes.
We'll talk a little bit further about that, about 5G Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, Wi-Fi 6, which is the newest version. Okay, so these are all things to look at in our current software. We already saw that. Okay, and here are ways that we can protect ourselves, hardware, software up to date, anti-malware software. Change your settings, I talked about that, change the settings in your router. Go into your settings in some cases and see what they have to secure things. You have options in your operating system and some of the application software that would cover not only security protection, but also privacy issues, reducing people's ability to get information from your computer. Use secure Wi-Fi networks, your own. If you're not using, so if you tend to travel a lot, if you use a lot of free Wi-Fi networks where other people, it's shared with other people, I encourage you to consider getting VPN software for your computer because that anonymizes you, if that's a word. It makes it harder for people to capture your data and identify it with you. It's encrypted and so on. If you're not familiar with those things, as we've talked, you can plug in the terms online and ask and just keep pulling on that string to learn more about them. Scams, phishing emails. We've all heard about these, and we've probably gotten some of them. They've gotten very good about the way they present these. They put some information in them that makes it personal. We have malicious pop-ups. So far I'm aware of 5 club members who have gotten either malicious pop-ups or phone calls telling them that their computer is infected by terrible software, and if you don't immediately call this 1-800 number, all your data will be destroyed and life as you know it will come to an end. And so...
Cost you $336 to get it fixed.
Yeah, right. Well, they don't mention that right up front. They just say, we're here to help you, call this number, and you call this number, and they say, oh my God, I've never seen such a problem, but I can fix it for you for only $336, and for you, it's a 10% discount. But, and we've had, as I said, 5 members that I know of that have had this situation occur, several of whom took advantage of the offer and ended up paying for work that didn't need to be done. Just to give you a personal example, my wife has an iMac, an Apple computer, and being married to me, she has learned to distrust anything that has to do with technology. So she had this big picture on the screen that said, oh my God, your computer's, and don't touch a button, don't try to turn it off, don't do anything, because if you do, all your data will disappear and so forth and so on. And she said, what should I do with that? And I said, go have a cup of coffee and sit down. And I turned off the computer because you couldn't turn it off, you couldn't shut it down because it was frozen. So what you do is you push the power button, hold the power button, turn that off, and if that doesn't work, you unplug your computer. Of course, if you have a laptop, you'll have to let it run down. But, so they're out there. And they'll continue to be out there and distrust anything that pops up on your computer. Malicious websites, you go to a website, how about if you just web browse? You go to a safe website and they've got a link someplace else, and that sounds interesting, and you go to that. And you say, oh, well, wait, there's a link to something else. And who knows where you end up out there, so be careful about that. Sir?
Earlier, you mentioned you got an email to update the firmware in your router.
Yes.
If you typically, if you get an email like that, it may be legitimate
Yes.
and it may not. So you have to be, you know, anything that appears helpful or even offers you $10 million or whatever, you've got to be suspicious of it. The best way to do that is to go to the router manufacturer yourself. Don't click on the email.
Right.
Go to the router manufacturer and check for updates there.
Yeah.
Rather than, anytime you click on anything in an email, you're taking a chance that it's not legitimate.
That's an excellent point. Always go, you know, we had, that's excellent, I'm glad you mentioned that. If you remember the presidential campaign of 2016, I hesitate to bring politics into this, but if you remember, a number of emails within the Hillary Clinton campaign were exposed and put out on the internet. And it was, well, how in the world did that happen and how did someone get access to the emails? And it was classic, what Lester just talked about. What happened was the campaign manager, John Podesta, in his personal Gmail account got what appeared to be an email from Google saying your Gmail account has been compromised. You need to update your password right away, and here's a link to do it. And his chief of staff saw this email and intercepted it and sent it over to a guy who had volunteered as a tech specialist to vet to make sure it was legit. And he looked at it and said, the email looks legitimate, but here is the Google email or the Google website address you should go to change your password. That got sent back to Podesta, and either he or his admin aide said, oh, okay, well, I don't need to do that. There's a link here, I'll just go on the link, okay? And so what happened was, it came what looked like a Google website page, and here you enter your current email password and your new email password, and click. And of course, the bad guys got this and opened up Podesta's email account, updated the password, which now they had access for the next 6 months or whatever, the campaign, suckered up all the emails and posted them. That's how it happened. And that's how companies are falling for ransomware and other phishing scams. You get one employee in a company in a network that falls for something like this, and it compromises the whole network. So Lester's absolutely right. You get anything like that, go directly to the website, or if there's a phone number provided, no, go look up the phone number for the bank or whatever it is. Yes, thank you.
And Lester, or Phil, on your, anything to do with a credit card, only call the number on the back of the credit card.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
I have a question. I was on vacation. One of the people in my group loaded up a bunch of photographs so that we all could see them. He said he was using Pictura. I think that was the name of the software. And he said, you should load it up too. So I did. And my homepage got hijacked, and I had an iPad mini, and that's what I use to find out how to get rid of that particular potentially unwanted program. Because it seemed to me that the way the malware was set up was that it wouldn't let me search on the fix. So I'm just throwing that out because that was my impression. And I found out what I needed to do and went back to the PC and took care of it. But I'm wondering if sometimes when you get malware, it will keep you from using a search to get the fix.
It's a good point. The question was, if you get malware on your computer, will it interfere with your efforts to get rid of it? Either by searching or by doing, and the answer is yes, a lot of it does. One of the things that I would recommend, based on my reading, is we talked about having anti-malware software on your computer. I tend to rely on How to Geek website a lot for information. They're very knowledgeable and it's free, and I encourage anybody to look it up and so on. It's hyphenated, How to Geek, G-E-E-K, How to Geek, okay, .com. And a lot of the articles that I send out to the group come from that website because they've got a lot of good information. What they recommend for people in terms of anti-malware software are two things. They said that Windows Defender, the software that comes built into Windows 10, it used to be Windows Security Essentials in earlier versions, is getting better and better and better. As a matter of fact, I saw an article on the web recently that said some group that evaluates anti-malware said that this was as good as the best, among the best of the anti-malware software out there. And it's built into your computer. Okay, it's automatically, if you had Norton Security on your computer, for example, and you uninstalled it, Windows Defender would automatically turn on. It notices software. So you're covered with that if you have Windows 10. And to supplement that, they recommend Malwarebytes, which the Malwarebytes has progressed. Malwarebytes 3.0 now is really a comprehensive anti-malware program. It's expanded over the original Malwarebytes version. It's a paid version. I think for one computer, it's somewhere around $39.95 a year. And you can get multiple licenses for more computers at a higher price. So those would be the two things that they would recommend, and those should do a lot to help prevent the situations you ran into in terms of this stuff being installed on your computer in the first place.
Can you repeat the names again?
What?
Can you repeat the names of those two pieces of software you recommend?
Windows Defender and Malwarebytes. Linda, you're an old pro. on
Yeah, you know
Malware.
what's happening to me in the last month or so? All of a sudden, I see some red, and then my computer cuts off. And so I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing's happening. And they wait 20 minutes, and then I turn it back on. What had happened was Malwarebytes Pro did a scan. So I must have been on a bad site. So it's happened, but it's cleaned it up. I know I need to do a whole cleanup on it. And I also have ESET, which is from Slovakia. That was recommended by somebody in WGN years ago. They said it was a very good one.
Yeah.
But I think I signed up for now for 3 years for, wow.
$180.
Yeah, 3 years. I got it, so like for $36 a month for 3 years.
Per year.
Yeah, per year.
Yeah.
And I figure I'll spend the money now and I don't have to worry about it. It is a lot of money, but hey, I don't have to go to Best Buy or something to have my computer cleaned up or things stolen because I spend time. You know, if I'm looking at my financial stuff and I'm studying stuff, I might be in there a while. Well, I want to have protection. I really have to have that. It's scary. And even now, it's like, hey, even with that darn new software, Malwarebytes Pro, it's worth every penny.
There's a whole number of good software programs out there, and they will replace Windows Defender, which will turn off if you load, ESET, or if you load Norton, or if you load. I had used that other program, yes. But
Avast.
well, yeah, Avast is another one. And by the way, if you use commercial software like Avast or perhaps Asset, I know Avast does this, they have, some of them offer safe search functions. So that if you post a search query on the internet, you get this, 10 million answers pop up. Well, you will see like a green check mark or whatever next to the ones that are considered safe. So it gives you just a little more security that I'm not going to be on a dangerous website.
Google, I think, provides for that. They won't let you, but still, it
Yeah.
can happen.
Yep.
If I didn't have that software.
Okay, well, in the interest of time, let us move along. Phone scams, that's another thing to be worried about, and we'll talk about that a little bit.
I have another thing. Does anybody have AT&T phone? Oh, there's a site that protection, AT&T network protection. I got an app, mobile security from AT&T, and it says device security active, breach reports, no reports. And then I could also get a VPN if I get, I don't know, if I pay $4 a month. Personal ID, there's other things I can pay.
Okay.
Basic is free, so
Yeah.
this just happened. I just saw this yesterday.
Well worth looking at. Yeah, we talk a lot about components of computers, but that's very well worth looking at on your phone as well. I have to buy Avast Mobile, which
Well,
provides security on the phone as well.
Right, but Apple doesn't really have it
Well-
right now. But this is for my AT&T, not for my.
For those in the other
Right,
side
right.
of the divide on Android, you can buy relatively inexpensive anti-malware protection on your phone as well. But that's good to know. Thanks, Leonard. Okay, protections against scams. Keep yourself up to date. What's going on? They're in the news. You read about them. Listen to people. Listen to friends who've been scammed. Build a list of actions, take or avoid. Do not engage with potential scammers. That's one I keep beating the drum on, is if they can't contact you, they can't scam you. So if somebody rings your doorbell and you've never seen them before in your life, don't answer the door. If somebody calls you and you don't recognize the phone number, don't answer the phone. Let them leave a message. And, oh, it's a long-lost friend. Hi, how are you? But otherwise, they can't contact you. Same thing with emails. If you get suspicious-looking emails or they're in your spam folder, don't open them. So think about that before you engage, before you do anything, particularly if you see some pop-up saying, click here for this, or click here for that, or what have you. Seek information from others, identify helpers you can turn to if you are scammed. I mentioned some of our folks have been scammed in one way or the other. I said this example before, it's not just on computers, it's over your phone as well. My neighbor on my block, mother, lives up in Wisconsin by herself. She's old, she's in her 80s, lives by herself, got a phone call, Grandma, I need help. And she has her grandson who she dotes on, would cut up her arm for, who's grown, who's got a job. Is that you, Chris? Yes, it is, Grandma. I need help. You don't sound like Chris. Well, I'm scared. Well, what's wrong? I'm in jail. I'm in jail? What for? Where? Some little town in Wisconsin. What for? Well, I was in an accident and they got me locked up and they're saying they're going to put me, I need money for a lawyer. Well, oh my gosh, how much money do you need? Well, it's awfully expensive, Grandma, but I got a job, I'll pay you back. And her grandson did have a job. $5,000. Oh my God, well, okay, Chris, well, where should I send it? And so this lady, who did not have $5,000 to spare, but this was her beloved grandson, sent $5,000 to this thing, and waited to hear back from Chris that he was okay and everything was fine and nothing happened. She was worried. Oh, I forgot. Don't call my parents. In other words, don't call your daughter. Don't call your parents. I don't want to. Okay. No, I don't want to worry you either. Okay. Okay, nothing happened. 2 days later, another phone call. Grandma, I need another $3,000. I can't, so another $3,000. She mentions this to her other daughter who lives near her in Wisconsin. Her other daughter is horrified, immediately calls my neighbor, her sister, and says, have you heard from Chris? Well, yeah. He said, work. Why? What's the problem? Okay. And there was $8,000 out the door.
Yeah, that's happened. All I did when I called my grandson and I said,
Yeah.
are you okay?
Yeah. But that's the point. That's the point.
And they said they were in New Jersey and that they had a car up.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Was it Gertie? I knew that.
Yeah. Well, that's a point I've got on here. Seek advice from others before you act. I mean, just if you find yourself, the scammers depend on scaring you, you're not going to think straight, you're going to panic, stop. Just say, excuse me, somebody's at the door, I got to go check. Take a deep breath and call your, do whatever. Or just say, something's wrong with my phone, I can't hear you, you'll have to call back. Anything
Call
to,
back usually gets the phone.
yeah, anything to create a gap between you and them. Okay.
Well, other goes with this, actions. They call and they say, is this you part? And I will not say yes.
Oh, no, that's right.
Yeah.
They want to record it. and
Oh, yeah.
use it.
Yeah, that's another one where supposedly people will record you saying yes, and then they'll create a tape saying that you said yes to this wonderful offer that you didn't want.
Now, the hospital can call
Can you hear
2
me?
days before our doctor's appointment saying, all right, can you come to this time? They said, I will tell you.
Well, you can say, that time sounds fine to me.
You know,
Yeah. I'll be there.
I have to change it.
Yeah, good point. Don't say yes. Okay, extortion. This is another fun opportunity in our technology world. Extortion. This, obviously, ransomware is the obvious example of that. One of the things, a nice thing about Malwarebytes is it should help protect you against ransomware. Some other good anti-malware software will do the same thing. That's why I encourage you to look for that capability in any malware, anti-malware software you put on your computer. I don't need to go into ransomware. They encrypt your data, your personal data, and require you to pay a ransom to unencrypt it. If you don't, they wipe out your data, your personal data. And unless you have backups on the side, it's a problem. Yeah, so backups before the point. So, but threatening, scary emails or phone calls, and I just gave you an example of that with a scary phone call. But same thing with this, your computer has this malware caller number. That's another version of this scary emails. And then, of course, there's sextortion. You may have read about sextortion. Oh, this is a fun one. This, and a member of our club has received this email, okay? It was not me, but it was another member of our club, and here's how it worked, okay? What these guys do is they take some data from the dark web about you, and there's so much data that's been stolen from all of us due to all these data breaches that they may have 1 or 2 of your passwords associated with your email address that they have picked up off the dark web from these data breaches. So you'll get this email that's from, this one happened to be from Nightmare. Hello, I'm your worst nightmare, and comma, gobbledygook, which happened to be one of the passwords that this person used on their account. So that got their attention. I know who you are and where you live, and I have put malware on your computer that allows me to see what you are viewing on your computer. And more than that, I'm able to activate your video camera on your computer, and I have pictures of you as you're watching this stuff on a computer, and I see that you have visited some pornography sites. And I have pictures of the sites, and I have pictures of what you were doing while you were watching this pornography. And I've also accessed your contact list. And unless you send me bucket loads of money, I'm going to forward all this to all your contacts so they can see what a dirty old man you are, okay? So that gets your attention, doesn't it? Okay, except though all of that is baloney, and that's what I told the person when they called me and said, you know, just forget it, delete it, and move on. But go to the account which password was used in this email and change the password on that account, okay? But that's another version of the ransomware version. So if you get an email like that, regardless of whether you've been watching pornography or not, you know, it's just considered a scam.
So as they suggested, they had pictures, look at, maybe turn your camera on and it's taking pictures.
Well, that's what they want you to believe.
Tape over it.
But a lot of people, including Mr. Zuckerberg, take tape and put it over their video camera. Or if you have a desktop, you just put your video, if you have a separate video camera, just disconnect it until you need it. But there have been some cases, I guess, where people have been able to hijack the software that controls your built-in webcam and at least see who you are and what you look like and what have you. But, so yeah, put a little piece of tape over it. Okay. Extortion, here we talked about all that. Back up all your personal files with an air gap. Okay, that's an important point, an air gap between your device with your duplicate files and your computer. Why? Because if they are able to get into your computer with ransomware and encrypt your personal data on your computer, they can also encrypt a USB drive that's connected to your computer, external hard drive that's connected to your computer. So the suggestion is rather than leave, you know, it used to be you get this external hard drive, plug it in, you put on history, file history in Microsoft, and what's the term in Apple? Apple's got a term for it too, where they automatically back up your files. I forget the term, but it's like file history. You can plug in... Time machine, yeah, that's it, time machine. You can plug in an external hard drive and it will automatically keep updating your files, but as long as it's connected to your computer, it too can be encrypted with ransomware. So what I do and what other people, what they recommend is you set aside a time once a week or whatever to back up your data, disconnect the device, and keep it separate from your computer. So if by chance your computer is tied in with ransomware, you've got this data safe and sound over here. And that's what an air gap is. If you are caught up in ransomware and you say, aha, you know, I got you, I got all my personal data right here, and I'm going to wipe my computer and start all over again, okay? Well, that's fine for your data, but you've got application software on your computer probably. So you want to have a plan to say, okay, I know what I have on my computer in application software, and I know all my IDs and passcodes and activation codes from that software. Because you can go to the website of the software manufacturer, download the thing, but you will need that application code to reactivate your account. So keep that information handy. Okay. Well, we're halfway through. We'll move on a little bit. Identity theft, we're not going to get into it. It's a big discussion, a lot of things. I mean, there's romance scams, there's all kinds of stuff, many of which are not technology related at all. They're just personal contact things. Technology to improve our lives, how are we using existing technology? Can we take existing technology and get more bang for our buck? and then what future technology is on the horizon. How about existing technology? What do we use? Do we have some things we don't use anymore? Well, let's get it off the computer, let's get rid of it, let's, as you go into 2020, good time to clean house, and get down to the bare minimum, and look around us and say, of current technology that's out there, is there something additional or new that I might want to take advantage of? You might also want to reaffirm and affirm which tech providers to use. Obviously, if you've entered the Apple ecosystem, you've got a walled garden, as they refer to it. You've got computers, you've got phones, you've got iPads, they're doing their own operating software, their own updates. It's really a very convenient situation to be in, but they're pricey compared to what you can get with the Windows system, for example, or a Linux system, or Google with Chromecast and so on, that you cobble together on your own out of different components. But if you do that, that's fine. That's a choice you make. But once a year, or as you're considering purchasing new hardware, it's a good idea to sit back and say, do I want to continue down the path I'm on, or are some benefits or advantages to me to change product families, if you will. Okay, now let me give you an example. I said, let's look at current technology. Is there anything that makes sense for you to do differently? And here you go. New technology is not always dramatic. Okay. What you see on the left in that picture is an HP XL black cartridge for an HP inkjet printer. This has been the traditional way of getting ink for inkjet printers since they've been inkjet printers. That cartridge will print 1,000 pages. It costs $35. Okay? Epson led the way, and other manufacturers are now doing this a couple years ago, of building printers now with ink reservoirs in them and providing bottled ink with the printers. And what you see on the right is an Epson bottle of ink that will print 4,000 pages of black for $20. Did I mention $35 for the HP cartridge for 1,000 pages? So I retired one of my HP printers and bought an Epson. In January 2018, they came with one of those bottles of black ink, a bottle of red ink, blue ink, yellow ink included. Now it was a little pricey, it was about $200, but it was more expensive than just the printer itself, but it came with the ink. Promised 2 years worth of usage on it. I'm up to 20 months. I still got red ink, yellow ink, and blue ink. I have gotten one bottle of replacement ink, $20, and I've used half of it to fill up my printer, which is now full and will run for another, through the end of the year. Epson isn't the only people who do this. Canon now have this, so does Brother. HP does not. But this is a simple example of changes, small changes in technology that can benefit us in our everyday stuff. Sure.
Then in between that, you can take your HP cartridge to Costco,
Yeah.
and there's a price for refilling
Right.
it.
Yeah, I had.
But you would have to do it 4 times to get 4,000 pages, so, and run the risk of leaks and, all that stuff. So, but yes, there are ways to cut that cost. I'm not necessarily pushing that, I just wanted to use that as an example of some small changes that you might want to take into consideration as you buy something new. We talked about which tech providers to use. Do we want to change anything? Functionality, ease, cost, software, how does that play into it? You have to buy some software with other products that you get with some. How about new and changing technology? Now we're moving into the future. Windows 7 will no longer be supported with security updates after January 15th of 2020. They stopped supporting them with product functional, thank you, with functional updates already, but they're going to stop security updates after January 15th, 2020. That doesn't mean you can't keep using Windows 7, but it means that you are potentially at risk as time goes by. Obviously, if you're protected with good anti-malware software and so on, that may work out okay, but you really ought to be looking at what am I going to do for an encore? Can I upgrade my existing computer to Windows 10, or should I just get a new computer with Windows 10 preloaded and save the Windows 7 for backup or something I would use when I'm not connected to the internet? Something to factor in. Wi-Fi 6 is rolling out in 2020, and 5G wireless is currently in test, rolls out in 2020 and beyond. Let me just show you this graphic. This is from a newspaper article about Vernon Hills. Vernon Hills just had a hearing of the village board about allowing antenna to be placed on their light posts throughout the village for 5G wireless. The technology in 5G wireless is considerably faster than the 4G you have in your phones today. So you will need, as we move down the road, you will need a new phone, a different phone if you want to take advantage of it, although you can still use your old 4G wireless phone, but if you want to take advantage of it, you need a new 5G phone, and they have to install an entirely different type of antenna than the cell phone antennas you see on posts sitting around the area. A much shorter range on the signal. That's why they're putting on light posts around the cities and so on, taking advantage of that. It has to be close to you. So this is coming. They've got trial balloons here and there, and they're working through the bugs. We can expect to see more of this in 2020, and 2021 probably will be the rollout period where you start seeing phones and you'll start seeing this widespread, certainly in city areas. But that's what's going to be different about it, and it promises to give you much faster data speeds on your through cell phone wireless, to the extent that people like Verizon are looking upon this as a substitute for cable Wi-Fi in your homes, cable internet, that it would be fast enough, if you have an antenna close enough to you, they'd be able to sell you internet connection for your home network through this technology instead of all the cables. But speaking of cables, you can buy Wi-Fi 6. Now, Wi-Fi 6 promises faster throughput in your home for your home Wi-Fi network, basically through a broader bandwidth, so that more stuff can come through your router at one time. You can buy a Wi-Fi 6 router right now. This is from Amazon's website. If you notice, it's wireless speed up to 6 gigabytes per second on this thing, which is fast, fast, fast. Coverage for large homes. It's got 5 1G ports and 1 2G Ethernet ports. So it goes beyond today's gigabit Wi-Fi to, you've got 2G. Great, a mere $359.95, but you can save $4.10 with a coupon. No, that's what they say. I sent out an email on this recently that I was sharing from How to Geek, and they said, yes, you can buy it now, but don't. Because the consortium that controls Wi-Fi and designations and everything else certifies routers for the latest technology. They have not certified any of these routers yet for the final technology. It's always possible to put some tweaks in that technology before it's finally certified. No sense being an early adopter here, because you might get a router that's not going to work with the final configuration or not work as well. They expect to have that done by, I think, mid-2020. So be aware that it's out there, be aware that it's coming, but don't rush out to buy anything until they've actually certified these routers and the technology.
Question, will cause your computer to get hot?
I'm sorry?
The extra speed
Yeah.
will put a stress on the computer by raising the temperature, by the increased activity?
I have not heard that mentioned anywhere, and I'm not sure why that would be true, because I don't know, any reason to believe that. It just means the data would be transferring faster. I mean, your computer already can transfer data internally from your hard drive so I don't know why that would be a problem. Okay. So those are a couple of the things. Look for new technology. Let me go back. Okay, so I've talked about Wi-Fi 6 rolling out in 2020. Talked about 5G wireless currently in test. Edge Chromium browser rollout in 2020. If you're a Windows Insider, they've already given you an opportunity to try out Edge Chromium, which what they've done is they've taken their proprietary Edge browser and they've redone it based on Chromium, what would you call it? The Chromium operating system that Google created a long time ago. It's open source, and Chrome browser is based on this Chromium software, but it's open source, and therefore you can, what Microsoft has done is form an agreement with Google to use that as the basis for their new version of Edge. So I've loaded that on my computer, and I like it. It's fast or faster than Chrome. It allows you to use Chrome Web Store apps, so I'm able to load all my Chrome Web Store apps on it, all my bookmarks, everything else. And so that's coming down the road. If you want to try it, you can go to Microsoft website and apply to download it, just to play with it if you want to. But that's coming down the road. Doesn't require any change in your computer or anything like that. But one more option for your browser. T-Mobile and Sprint are supposed to be in the process of a merger. I believe that's been approved by the FCC. So that's going to cause some angst probably for people who are T-Mobile and Sprint users while they sort through all of that. We're in the midst of a multiple number of USB options, USB 3.0, and you've got different versions of it. Some's faster and slower. You've got USB-C, which has a different connector on it and can offer multiple faster speeds. So be aware of that. Sometimes you can run into a little bit of incompatibility. If you care to, you can Google this and read more about it and learn more about it. Just keep reading the tech news, mainstream media, try to keep up and say, okay, how is this going to affect me? If you have questions, post it to our Google groups, bring it to our meetings, and we'll look into it and talk about it. I think it was Bart mentioned technology presentations at the libraries. Your library may offer free technology presentations. Just read the monthly bulletins and see if they've got something going you want to sit in on. Best bang for your buck, just do inventory of what you have, consider what you need. Asking the question about when should I change my router and so forth and so on. If you're thinking of doing that, you may want to wait and consider getting a Wi-Fi 6 router as your new router rather than run out and buy one right now. They're pricey, they're going to be, like anything else, it's going to be pricey when they first come out, but I'm sure the price will come down in competition. But certainly, if you're thinking of buying hardware, buying a new phone. I wouldn't buy that right now. I'd wait and see what's going to happen with 5G wireless. Keep those other things in mind as you buy gear, so you're not buying stuff you can't use. Places to shop: Costco, Sam's Club, and Amazon. Costco, of course, offers a concierge service, so they offer after-purchase service, which can be very valuable to you. Sam's Club, I think, has a version of that. Amazon gives you a 90-day return policy, and that's helped a lot of people with technology that where they have a problem, they have a bigger window to return it. Best Buy and Office Depot, Office Max will do price matching against Amazon. I'm not sure if they price match against Costco and Sam's Club, but they price match against Amazon, and they're right in the neighborhood. You can buy used, refurbished gear. You can buy tech gear at Goodwill. Just go to your friendly neighborhood Goodwill. People take stuff they don't need, they'll take it over to Goodwill. You can buy it for 20 cents on the dollar. You're taking a little chance. You don't know for sure if it's going to work, but if it's a monitor or a printer or something like that, it might work for you. I mentioned best practice for technology disposal. Something I think we should all be doing for 2020 is addressing on a personal level, what are we going to do with all our old tech gear? Let's face it, there are billions of devices out there with lithium-ion batteries in them, which eventually will no longer hold a charge. They've got some rare earth metals in there that could be poisonous in the environment, et cetera, et cetera. They keep churning out all this new stuff. What are we going to do with our old stuff? So as you come to do inventory and say, time to replace this and so on, I encourage everybody, please check with your local electronics recycle, go on the web. By the way, you can return used tech gear to Best Buy free. Just bring it in and give it to Best Buy, and they'll say, oh, thank you very much, and they say they will recycle it and reprocess it and so forth. So that's an option.
Grace Lake has a bin all the time, it's
Yeah.
not just Grace Lake for recycling.
Okay.
Where you can take pretty much anything.
Where was that?
It's in Grace Lake, it's.
Oh, Grace
right off
Lake.
the 80.
Yeah, okay.
It's a swap code, but it's all
Yeah.
the time. It's
Yeah.
not just a special time.
Yep.
There is also a Swalco drop-off site in Grand Township on Mullingar Road at the Grand Township Highway Department.
Yeah,
And
if you
it's
just Google
24/7.
swap code
Yeah.
recycle.
Yeah, if you live in Lake County, you can Google Swalco and they'll tell you about electronics recycling.
Somebody wants to put together a list, I'll put it in the newspaper.
Okay, I'll do that. Sir? Ma'am?
Highland Park has.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 blocks from my house.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, there's different recycling places out there, run by the county, run by the village, whatever. I mentioned Best Buy because that way they're open at convenient hours.
Yeah, they don't take
Go by.
TVs,
Okay, no TVs.
a lot of monitors, or
Okay.
Grace
anything
Lake,
big.
they're
Yeah, I would call first if you're thinking of going to a place just to make sure. Or if it's Swalco, you can go on their website and have a list of what they accept and what they don't accept. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. They give suggestions about where to go if they don't take it. Okay. Best practices. Remember to wipe your data, personal data off anything you get rid of, and you can Google that on the computer to get some suggestions on how to do that. Not just your computers, but your printers, any device that might have had your data passing through it could potentially have some saved that a knowledgeable person could access. So spend a little time before you get rid of it to be sure you wipe it.
One other option, the box is now holding disk of terabytes, which is so big. But until this happened, when I replaced the computer, I just took the disk drive out. For $20, I can put it inside a box and plug it in as a spare disk drive, as a backup.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that way it's
JJ, you showed us something like that, right?
What's that?
The multi-disc,
Global?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Good point. You repurpose a hard drive from your computer, or just take it out and smash it. But I mean, yeah, drill holes in it. Okay. Digital afterlife, we touched on that presentation. This is going to be up online, but if you want to go see my presentation on digital afterlife again, you can find it on YouTube at this address, which you can click on when you get this, okay? And I thought I'd touch it, and with a touch of humor. It's very user-friendly once it gets to know you. Okay. Failure plan is planning to fail. Make 2020 a great year for your presentation, and you're out of here. Any questions?